You're listening to the Frame100 podcast, a show by Brickfilmers for Brickfilmers.
And welcome to the Frame100 podcast, the show that is looking forward to our new AI overlords. You're listening to episode 14 of the show. I'm Chris, known as Gold Brick Productions, here with Trevor, aka Suited Ninja Nerd Studios.
How's it going?
And Marcus, aka Brickhat Studios.
Marcus is not here. Marcus 2.0 has taken his position on the Frame100 podcast.
See, we've already begun. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, I see what you did there. I'm catching on. I gotcha.
So as you may have guessed from the title, the marketing, and the intro here that was slapped together in about 5 seconds, we will be talking about AI. But first, before we get into that, we have a question from our audience. Would one of you guys like to read it off?
Yeah, if I can find it here really quick. So we've got a question here on Twitter from our pal Nick Douglas, saying, #Frame100 podcast. What creative pursuit do you think you would have pursued if you hadn't become a brick filmer? Chris, I think you said you had a good answer for this, so I'm going to push this towards you first.
Alright, I'll buy you guys some time. This will probably come as no surprise to anybody, but I think if I hadn't gotten into brick filming at all, considering where I was as a kid, I probably would have wanted to try and get into music. And would have inevitably ended up happening as I would have gotten into rock and metal. So if I wasn't brick filming right now in this alternate timeline, I would probably be into music. I would probably have a metal band, because that would be a lot of fun.
So what you're telling me is that you want to blow up people's eardrums. Got it.
Basically, yeah.
I would like to join you on this quest of blowing up people's eardrums.
Sweet. You want drums, guitar, clean vocals? I call unclean vocals.
Funny story. I actually used to play drums back when I was a kid in Malaysia.
Yo, I love
week.
myself a fellow drummer. I respect that. I did that stuff in middle school. It's great.
I played so many instruments in my early life, actually. Like, I played the drums first, and then the trumpet, and then percussion. I don't know what.
Yes,
what
percussion
is.
Specifically, because it's not just the drums, it's percussion. You're playing more than just the drums.
Yeah. And then I got a B in elementary school because I was pretty bad at it. And I'm like, what the heck? And then maybe about a year ago, I met the band teacher at my local music shop. It's like, you look familiar. I'm like, yeah, you're the dude that gave me a B in elementary school. He's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. Anyway, so after that, I played piano and then violin, and then I stopped.
Yep.
That's a shame.
That's how it goes.
So I played piano for a bit in middle school, mostly because my parents wanted me to. I was horrible. I didn't practice. My mom straight up says that she was somewhat sheepish at recitals because I sounded horrible. So that ended. Yeah. I really wish I would have learned guitar, though, because inevitably all of their factors remain the same. I would have found out about rock, metal, etc., and I probably would have really gotten into it. Who knows? Maybe I could have been, in one of my favorite bands.
Realistically, you'd probably just end up being composers for a lot of us.
Well, technically, if I didn't go into brick filming, I wouldn't have met any of you guys. So it
true.
definitely does.
This is true.
Out
We would
that I
have
started
never met
brick
each
filming.
other.
That's true, and this is why if Chris had become a musician, we truly would have been living in the darkest timeline.
If we did not do brick filming and not met each other, we would all be very sad boy hour time.
I mean,
This is
are
true.
we not already though? Are we not already?
No, much worse.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
We're not, though, because of metal and because of album releases.
No, but all right, sure.
It's just a solve all for everything, Trev. You have to embrace it.
Oh, fine.
Trev,
Alright.
do you want to go next?
Yeah,
Or do you want me to stall for you?
I'll go next. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I know. As a kid, I was so interested in a myriad of different things. So, like, if you had asked me this question back before I found brick filming and like film and ultimately went down that path, I would have probably told you like everything under the sun. I would have been like, yeah, I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to be a musician. I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to be, I don't know, like a cook. Most of those, which I can't actually do. I
A
can't.
horror director.
Yeah. I can. I think I can do. I can't do anything on that list except for write. And I'm an animator who can't draw, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, honestly though, I probably would have gone with art, like art just in general as a career, because I did art for such a long time, and then I took a hiatus from it because my film interests were kind of getting in the way of that. So yeah, now I'm dealing with all this having to get back into art stuff again because that's what they're pushing to us in all my animation courses. But that's a fun struggle. But that's my story. Yeah, I probably would have gone into doing art or like illustration of some sort. How about you, Marcus?
I can see that.
As a kid, well, I grew up in a restaurant, so I originally wanted to become a chef, but then I realized that I was physically too weak to carry a Walker pan and cook things.
Are you still?
And yeah.
Do you even lift, bro?
Yeah, do I even lift, man?
Sad.
But no, like the restaurant business is very difficult. So I gave up on that. And
you hear that, everybody? Marcus is a quitter.
And then my friend kind of introduced me to like the IT cybersecurity world in like middle school, and then I kind of joined him on that adventure for a bit. And that's basically what I would have done. Probably IT, take the boring life path, live comfortable. But then of course that's if I didn't do brick filming. But since I do, we are having a fun life, or at least I think I'm having a fun life.
Pain.
That's fair.
Pain.
I feel like on all of ours though, like we could probably balance both. Like Trev, you could balance illustration and brick filming for sure. I think you probably could, Marcus, except for like the nights where you'd be, what you call it, slogging over code for hours on end.
The nights where he'd be hacking into the UN.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how I'd make a brick film in the back of a tour bus, but we could figure it out.
Hey, who is it? Wasn't it Hudson? If Rio can do one on a plane and Hudson can do one in a car, you could do one on a tour bus. Come on.
All right. So we got one in a tour bus, we got one in a submarine, we got one in lava, and now we need one in space. We need those.
Well, I feel like Chris would suffice for both of those.
I'd go for it.
Yeah.
I want to do the one in lava.
I want to do the one. Did you say underwater? Was that one?
Yeah, submarine.
Yeah, I'll do one of the submarine. That sounds cool. Air pressure gonna kill me, but that's all right.
Yeah. Just unlock the hatch and just explode.
Yes.
I love it when a plane comes together.
Yeah.
Do you get crushed? Do you get crushed or you explode? You get crushed, right?
You get crushed, yeah. It's the air pressure.
You get crushed from the sudden rush into water and whatnot.
Yeah. Anyways. I feel that. I guess speaking of submarines and the machinery involved, God, this is the worst. This has to be the worst segue. Wow. I know we say this every time, but this has to actually be the worst segue we've come up with. And of course, it's from me.
Hey, it's a brand thing, you know. We got to we just got to claim it now.
Exactly. But we're gonna be diving into the world of AI in, I guess, not only brick filming, but animation kind of as a whole. I guess, Chris, give everybody the lowdown on what's been happening in the community recently.
Absolutely. So this discussion's been going on for a long while.
Yes.
So it's not fair to assume that we just happened to stumble upon this or it just happened to be a big deal. But it started with a tweet, or at least for us, it started with a tweet.
It always starts with a tweet. That's how you know it's going downhill.
But our friend Sean Willis, aka Silly Penta, tweeted, "Apparently, all it takes to fool people into liking motion smoothing is to call it AI frame interpolation 60 FPS." Which I thought was kind of funny because he talked about frame blending, and we actually made a joke about this last podcast. It just feels dirty and disgusting. Well, then our buddy Rio Force, he decided to test this little theory. And so he took one of the most well known for various reasons. We'll leave it sort of nebulous.
Questionable, but yes, I guess you could say well known.
Yeah. He took Beast. He took Beast and interpolated it into a 60 FPS stop motion. And everybody went nuts. It's funny because Nick Douglas commented on it, and he said, it glitches whenever it cuts. I commented with, it enhances whenever it cuts.
Well,
actually, sarcastic, of course.
So actually, the first example that I saw of this, at least recently, was, of course, I'm not remembering the video title or anything, but it was somebody who, they had some space film that was like, utilizing this. It took the film, it was from 15 FPS and used AI to interpolate it to up to 60 FPS. And I'd argue that the results are more or less worse than what you see in Beast, but it's just it's another art of its own. Like and it's funny.
So we dug into.
Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
So now we dug into this a little bit. So I asked Rio how he did it, and he referenced. I can't remember what the site is, but the site uses an implementation of an algorithm called DAIN.
DAIN, yeah.
DAIN, which stands for Depth-Aware Video Frame Interpolation Model. Because when it comes down to engineering acronyms, the more letters you can use and the more letters you can throw out, the better. So don't ask why it has video in the acronym and yet there's no V in DAIN.
Isn't it on GitHub or like Patreon? I remember them saying it in the video.
It is on GitHub. It can be supported through Patreon. We're referencing a journal paper from... I closed the journal link, dang it. But the paper's called Depth-Aware Video Frame Interpolation from Shanghai Jiao Tong University. I probably butchered the pronunciation there, but I apologize. And it's actually a really interesting paper, about 10 pages worth. It's more of like a conference size or anything, where it talks about a neural network that's used to basically insert in additional frames in order to meet a specific frame rate. Alright, here's the tricky part where I gotta go into the background of machine learning and do it really fast before we lose our audience.
Exactly.
You guys gonna be alright?
I don't know if I can be, and I can't speak for the audience, so you might as well jump right in.
Aboard the roller coaster. I was about to say train. I don't know why I didn't say train. I sound like a train conductor, but all aboard this train.
Okay, Tom Hanks.
Oh no. So the reason why I have a specific vested interest in this is because I'm a graduate student in electrical and computer engineering, and I took an artificial intelligence / machine learning course. That course was honestly a horrible experience. I would never recommend it, but I did learn a few things about the technology. What's unique about machine learning is that it's a series of programs where the program basically learns from itself. So you have two stages. You have your training and your testing. And this uses what's called a neural network, which is basically a decision-making tree. So it takes your inputs, which in this case are frames, and it tries to guess what the output's supposed to be. So you train the algorithm by giving it inputs where you know what the output is supposed to look like. And the algorithm will compare the output it came up with to the output it's supposed to expect, figure out what it did wrong, and implement that to be learned in the next trial. And so when you trained it enough, you have an algorithm that has, quote-unquote, figured out how to do it correctly the next time. So then when you're done with all your training, then you can kick into testing to see how it all runs. And then once you confirm that your testing has performed fairly well, then you can stick this out on the World Wide Web and people can have fun with it. So it looks like they went through several different data sets to train and test it. They talk about this in the paper. Again, highly worth reading. And for the most part, out of several different algorithms they tested, they listed 6 of them here, on several different data sets, DAIN seems to perform the best. I think that's one thing that has incentivized people, especially in brick filming, to go ahead and try it out. And why you start seeing videos all over Reddit where people are like, dude, check out the 60 FPS interpolation, man!
Those people, they don't deserve salvation. They deserve nothing.
I mean, I'm gonna get my Brickfilmer card revoked and the hashtag cancel GDP revolution's gonna begin. I think this is really cool technology.
No,
even though it kind of really sucks
since
right
I don't
now,
have that card.
I see potential.
Yeah, like I see where you're coming from. Like, yeah, I could totally see this kind of catching on in the future, But at the same time, I don't know. There's definitely some uncanny valley to it. There's a lot of it that has to get like kinks worked out. Like this is definitely not a final form per se of this, movement that we're seeing happen. But it really is like an interesting, I guess, debate to bring up. Yeah. Marcus, you had
one
something
thing I
to
will
say?
mention.
Oh.
I was basically going to simplify what Chris said, if I'm correct. So basically, you have like one keyframe and then another keyframe, and then it's trying to like figure out all the in betweens. Essentially,
exactly. Yeah. So the way it figures out that in between, it relies on two different factors. They mentioned this in the intro of the paper. They're referring to motion and then what they call occlusion, which is basically where they're taking items of depth in the video. And so when it's trying to insert the next frame, it prioritizes the pixels that are moving and that are in front. So for instance, in Rio's Beast video, a lot of us have already seen Beast already. There are scenes where the minifigure is moving in the foreground and the background doesn't change very much, because the algorithm is trying to emphasize the minifigure as it's decided that the minifigure is in the front and the background can be ignored. What gets crazy, though, is because you have things like light flicker, set bumps, bad lighting, and also the fact that your camera has to be so close to the set that it doesn't necessarily give you a video where the background and the foreground are really clearly separated, I guess. So as you're watching this video, you see a lot of artifacting in the background, because technically the background is also changing, and even though it's not in front, it's still somewhere on the priorities of this algorithm to guess where that is for the next frame.
Yeah. What effectively, bringing it into like more animation terms, it's effectively doing is it's in between the predetermined frames that were taken in the actual animation. So like in betweening is more a concept that's used in other forms of animation that aren't stop motion, because with other forms of animation, for example, with 2D, you'll start with your key poses. You'll draw those first, and then you go back in, and you can clean those up a bit more. And that's all to try and help figure out the timing of your movements. But you'll go in after that, and you will add in between frames, which are basically how you get from point A to point B in a certain movement. So it's effectively putting that into the hands of a computer, which is exactly what you're doing with 3D. But again, we're dealing with frames here, so it's effectively kind of combining the processes for both 2D and 3D animation, which is really a really interesting way to think about it. And, it's really interesting that we're kind of seeing that come to the forefront of this medium right now, because it's definitely not a thing that's new. It's been around for a while. Frame blending has been long condemned by many an animator for the longest time.
It's basically like a super advanced optical flow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Effectively.
They actually use that term here, optical flow.
Well, there you go.
To describe that. Yeah.
Like nobody uses frame sampling or frame blending. I don't know who uses frame blending. Oh my god, that thing is like horrendous.
Frame blending, it can have its uses, but they're very specific. Like whenever I think of frame blending, like a good usage for that, I would think like when you're trying to get that look of like slow motion, but you're kind of having it like where it's like the poses have like a little bit of like opaque fall off from them. Like you see it in a couple like shows and movies here and there. It's not utilized much these days, as it was more a product of stuff from like the 2000s. But yeah, it's super interesting. And I wanted to pitch the idea of we've been having a lot of this discussion recently about merging technology, or I guess more technology, with animation. And I was thinking, what if we could somehow figure out a way to have this work in tandem with the conversation we had a couple episodes ago about facial animation in brick filming? I'm wondering how that would work. If it would work.
Oh, it's already begun.
We've given...
I'm going to talk about this for a long while, but NVIDIA's new 30 series GPUs have been focusing a lot on machine learning and artificial intelligence, and one of their demos was trying to interpret audio and turn it into facial animation.
That's so cool.
No way.
That's so cool.
Yeah, way.
So like all the O's and like the sound, like you know how you make those shapes, so it can like actually interpret all those. Okay, interesting.
So it's effectively reverse VTuber. That's so weird. I kind of hate that.
Don't ever use that term in front of me.
Kind of hate that. I kind of hate that. But like,
see,
man, that's so interesting.
There's a whole branch of signal processing called speech signal processing, which specifically focuses on processing information based off of human vocal patterns. And so one thing that we all know is that your mouth makes different shapes when you're pronouncing different words, and your tongue moves in different positions depending on what those words are. Or, sorry, not words, syllables or phonemes.
Yes.
And what a lot of algorithms have tried to do is we know how the mouth looks when you're hearing something. Because if you see a mouth movement, you can go, oh, that's an O, that's an E, that's a U. What's become kind of tricky, though, is doing it the opposite way around. When you get the sound, and then try to figure out what the mouth looks like. And there's a series of frequencies that correspond with each different phoneme that are used in machine learning algorithms to figure out what letters are being said and how to make a mouth movement match to that. Which is one thing that NVIDIA has been working on with some of their new GPU demos, because they're able to process this audio really, really quickly with their new 30 series Ampere GPUs, and then go ahead and make the mouth movements correspond, whether it's 3D, I can see applications for 2D, or even brick filming. It's insane to think about.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and it's like I'm just trying to think now about like other facets that you could kind of put it into, because like, you know, we had to talk about like mouth animation, like, you know, if you can figure out a way to get this to automate itself, and I don't know, like, would AI tracking, like, would that have to be, I guess that would have to be something to kind of be developed in tandem with this, just to get it to like stick to the faces and everything.
NVIDIA's also
is that that's another, of course it's another thing. God, I should have actually paid attention to that.
Well, it's actually, there was this big huge press conference, so we were watching it in lab. We got nothing done for 45 minutes, but
that checks out. Honestly. Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah. Like, NVIDIA's showing off their new GPUs, and of course there's like game demos for Cyberpunk 2077 and Call of Duty and whatnot.
Doom Eternal.
And of course, Trev, you linked me the Doom Eternal gameplay, and that was spicy.
Looks good.
One thing
I love how they made the 30 series when I literally got the 2080 a few months ago.
Yeah.
Foolish mortal.
But it's okay. It's okay. I'm okay with this. I can still use the 2080 for like a solid like 6 years, maybe.
6.
I think you could get away with it. I mean, granted, the new 30 series is like basically the cap. A lot of games are going to try and match that, but they're still going to have options for everything down the line. And the 2080 is still decently powerful. It's just now that, well, they're trying to accelerate more machine learning stuff with the new 30 series to get it faster.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one thing they've talked a lot about is with real-time rendering, instead of trying to take so much time and energy trying to render a scene perfectly, or I guess like a snapshot, they want to try and render a decent version of it and then have a faster machine learning algorithm basically guess and fill in the blanks. So this is becoming very much a expected thing within game design, 3D animation, CGI, etc. Within brick filming, we're not quite there yet, because we are a more niche art, and I guess I'm being fully honest here, a lot of brick filmers aren't big on new leaps in technology. We're stubborn, I'm just going to put it that way.
That's a spicy topic. But no, going back to what you said about like CGI, that was another thing I was thinking about. I'm wondering like if there's a possibility that we would be able to reverse engineer this AI interpolation and get it to somehow, like, you could, you know, go in and animate something in 3D and CGI, you know, using like Lego parts, like going in and doing stuff with like Blender or Mecha Bricks, and then animating it, but animating it very smoothly so that you could then allow the AI to go in and then kind of reverse the process of what it's doing to brick films currently. And in terms of adding frames, what if it could potentially remove frames instead? I feel like that would not by any means be the best way to go about it, but that's still a really interesting thing to think about.
I think the Lego movie actually does that. Like, actively takes out frames of its final animation.
Yeah,
because like your frames that you save for a render, like I played around with Blender a little bit, and I got friends who really dive into it. Shoot, this would have been a good episode of Jumbo Gauge on. Like some of the Blender demos I've done, if I want to turn down the frame rate, I just either pick out frames or I just actively change the frame rate and just let the time increase or decrease a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's certainly there, and I think you could have an algorithm that selectively takes out frames. What might be more in line, though, is you could have a machine learning algorithm analyze the expected movement of stop motion, so feed in some brick films, and see if you can replicate that same sort of, abrupt kind of poppy movement within a clean CGI render. Because the enemy of CGI is perfection. If it doesn't look imperfect in certain places, no one is going to buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, like, God, it's just so interesting. And I'm trying to think, too, of, like, other facets that you could kind of apply it to, because while it's definitely not, like, revolutionary or anything, like we said, it's been around for a fairly long time. It just hasn't had this super official, frame interpolation 60 FPS name attached to it up until just now.
Yeah. Well, really, the only thing that's changed in recent days is that it's just becoming a more commonplace thing. Like, way back when, it was a big topic of discussion. I know Bricks in Motion was lit about it. But these days, it's becoming a thing where we're revisiting it constantly because somebody's doing something new with it.
Mm-hmm. And there's also been this movement of, like, now we're starting to see films that are utilizing different frame rates. We're not constantly trying to get, like, super smooth movements out of everything, and it's
120 FPS. Let's go.
Oh my god, no. But like,
wasn't there a film that was shot in 120 FPS? Now that
there has to be. Wasn't it Gemini Man?
There probably was.
I think it was Gemini Man. Gemini Man was shot at a much higher frame rate than most films were, and it doesn't look great just from the clips I've seen.
Well, we all know about the Hobbit controversy, right?
Oh, I actually don't. Please explain, elaborate for us and the listeners.
Yep. So with the Hobbit, I believe it was The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, they filmed it and played it at 60 FPS. Mm-hmm. And this is like a big marketing thing that they were pushing. Unfortunately, a lot of people claimed that they had headaches or felt nauseous after watching it. Whether or not that's entirely attached to the 60 FPS remains up for debate. It could just be more of a correlation than a causation. But it's interesting because generally, the higher a frame rate goes, suddenly people start getting a little more antsy. I think really the only place where a higher frame rate is pretty much universally accepted as a good thing is within gaming. Mm-hmm. I've never really heard it as, man, more frames is better for film, for animation, literally for anything other than video games.
Yeah.
It's strange.
What was the other thing I was going to mention? Like, we're reaching this point now with animation specifically where, like, I think a lot of companies are having a bit more faith in not having to have all of their movements for characters be super smooth and consistent and always at 30 or 60 FPS or wherever the heck we're at, or like we're trying to go towards. Like we're finally starting to see a lot more stylization in the way that characters and things within films move. And part of me fears that if this does end up catching on, we'll kind of see that revert back to what we have spent all this time finally straying away from. Because that's one of the things, like, that's so cool about the Lego movie is that, like, it was animated specifically to homage itself to the limited frame rates of brick films. So that's why, like, the way that film moves is, like, completely different from anything you would see coming out of Pixar. Anything you would see coming out of DreamWorks. Like, I can't say Sony now because they did a lot of messing around with that in Spider-Verse, but and it seems like they're doing a lot of that too with a bunch of their upcoming films, like Connected. So, like, yeah, it's really interesting seeing that kind of go back on itself in a way. I don't know, like, yeah, it's a very cool new, somewhat scary development happening right now.
I think the reason why higher FPS films don't work is because, like, Trev, you might have to help me with this, but, like, do you remember, like, back in the old days of like film, when well, not the old days, like I'm not sure if you've done like any film readings on like, what do you call it, when films were first released, like
what
it's
what
not
sort of
really
media?
recording, it's like literally moving images
Oh, like film
on the
reels.
screen. And like when you look at it, right,
Mm-hmm.
you're like kind of burning it into your head and like processing it.
Yeah.
But if there's like higher frames, that's like too much information to process for your like human brain, because there are cuts in the film. There's like, it's all jagged. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Yeah.
why in video games it's different, because like it's a constant motion.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't change too much like filmmaking
Yeah.
or in films.
Which is a true observation. Then I would have to look up the demographics, but I would dare wager that most of the people who went to The Hobbit and complained about the frame rate were probably older.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
would dare say that a lot of the younger demographic who's used to really high frame rates in games, especially in PC gaming, you kind of get used to it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
The human mind has a incredible ability to just learn to block things out. So it's just something that you would learn for. If there's too many frames, block a few out.
We're also in this.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. We're also in this age now too, where like we've reached such an interesting point where people have no attention spans. So that's why like people are always trying to make like this was something that very recently came up in a couple film classes I'm in, and we were talking about the way that films cut, like the way that movies are cut, and how with editing you see movies being cut in ways where there's so many more cuts going on than you would see back in the day, not just because of technology and how that's advanced and how they really didn't have the capabilities to just not cut in movies, but it's also just because audiences have such small attention spans that if whatever you're seeing up on screen is always constantly changing and there's always new stimuli going on, that's going to prompt people to stay glued to the screen more and pay more attention. And I think that's kind of the same mentality that we're getting at here with what this is doing.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Then we're at a... Well, it's been happening for a while. I know the example I gave a while ago when we did our talk about sound is just that technology, especially digital signal processing technology, always leaps a step ahead, and then people grab it and bring it back, and then it becomes current. Like I mentioned, like the flanger, for instance. The flanger was just a weird technology developed to kind of do the inverse of an echo, where instead of grabbing samples beforehand, you grab samples in the future, which only works really for a pre-recorded setup. And then the song, I got the actual title this time because I can never remember the actual title. Life in the Fast Lane by the Eagles was one song that made the flanger very famous in the chorus. And the original developers who created this technology, they didn't anticipate that people would actually want to use it. It was sort of just a proof of concept of what you can do with DSP tech. And then lo and behold, it became something that people actually wanted in their artwork for a good long while.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it's like, you know...
I think the same with machine learning as well. Like, it exists. Now people are thinking, hey, here's this new tool. How can we use this?
Yeah, and that's, like, I will be very interested to see if this sticks around or if it kind of phases out or, you know, just what's going to happen with it. Yeah. Really
I doubt it'll fade. Well, I think frame interpolation will probably die out in the way we're seeing it, where people are using it to show dramatic differences. Like, again, look at Beast. Beast was not filmed at 60 FPS whatsoever.
No.
What FPS was it filmed at? Do you guys know?
Have we ever seen an actual like animation that was 60 FPS?
No, we've never seen that. I mean, I think the most people have bothered trying to go to is 30. I know 24 is like kind of a norm for some people. But yeah, 30 is I think the highest I've ever kind of conceived somebody going. Consistently, at least.
I found funny is that in some circles, people are moving towards the opposite. So instead of adding more frames, they add less frames.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, there's some sort of feeling in Pride where instead of using 15 FPS like all the normies, you jump down to 12 FPS.
Mm.
I know I'm being a bit of a jerk, but this conversation made me go, the point being? Like I said, I was just conversing with some people, and they're just like, yeah, 12 FPS is great. I had a guy ask me, yeah, you should talk about some of your favorite brick films based on FPS. And I said, that could be interesting, but I do not pay attention much to FPS unless it services the story or the narrative.
Exactly.
So when it comes to stuff like 60 FPS interpolation, I think that's pretty cool as long as it works with the narrative. And I guess as long as it doesn't look like garbage.
Story. At the end of the day, as long as the story is good, you're fine.
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
all that matters.
Exactly.
And then second is lighting. I could say sound and lighting is most important, actually.
Yeah.
The first thing you ever hear is sound.
Mhm.
So there are times where I think sound takes precedence to everything else because it's going to be the first stimuli someone gets for your scene.
Well, I would
or
hope.
for the opening of
I
your
would also
film
hope
at
it's
all.
the first thing you hear, because I don't know exactly how you would see sound, but all right.
We can
God.
arrange that.
I'm
I'm
messing
joking.
with
I
you.
am 100% joking.
And welcome to the next
Thanks.
episode where we hear colors and see sounds.
Yes.
Horrible. Now.
Yeah.
Like,
And you start to feel the colors.
I can only really think of one brick film that was at 12 FPS where I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. But it's because they advertised way ahead of time that it was 12 FPS. And at that time, I was specifically thinking, that's gotta look jank. Oh, this is kind of cool.
What?
I literally
Wow.
could not tell you another 12 FPS film on this planet. I can't remember the name of it, actually.
Oh wow.
I like some classic space guys are all in red and they were fighting over a flag, I think. Shoot. Someone in the comments is going to correct me, and I'm going to have to eat some humble pie. I remember I watched
we'll
that.
just revoke your brick filming card.
I mean, someone should have taken it already, but it's still here, so live to fight another day. Like, that's the only film where I deliberately was thinking about the FPS. And even I've experimented with 15 and 24. Really, the only reason I do 15 is because 24 is a whole extra 9 pictures I don't want to take. That's literally it.
Wow.
I don't care enough because my emphasis is on story and narrative.
Mhm.
So when I see tools like this, I don't freak out thinking, it's the end of the world. I just think, well, if they can tighten it down and make the story interesting and to make the visuals help drive the story forward, I'm all Gucci.
All right, so cool. Yeah, I guess we've kind of brought that to a head. So I guess speaking of, what's the word? Taking over a certain group of things. How are we all feeling about the amazing amount of D2C sets that have been releasing this year? I know we don't tend to talk a lot about the actual products that we're buying to make the films that we're warranted in making. So I kind of want to shift focus and talk about that now. Let's see what everyone's thinking about D2C sets. I know just the other day I tweeted out saying 2020 the year of Lego D2C sets. Because we just keep we're getting 3 a month at least. It's insane. And for those of you who don't...
What was announced?
What was that?
What was announced? Sorry for
Oh no, you're fine. So for those who don't
know,
know, D2C stands for direct to consumer sets. It's the moniker that's given for Lego sets that usually cost over $100 or more. We're kind of seeing that the 18 plus line is basically what has been established as the D2C sets. D2C as a concept doesn't make a ton of sense to me anyways, because all of the sets are going directly to the consumer, but that's besides the point.
Not entirely, actually. So D2C sets are often only sold through Lego or through Lego stores.
Oh, okay, then
Whereas
that makes sense.
there are a lot of larger scale sets that are sold through, say, Target, Walmart, Amazon, etc. So, for instance, you can't get a modular building by driving down to your local Walmart. You can only get it at a Lego store or ordering through Lego or the secondhand market, which Lego has no control over.
Brick Fair.
Except they bought Bricklink.
So yeah, they could technically control whatever they want.
They can't control Brick Fair, though.
Exactly. Instead, disease can.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, there has been an insane amount of D2C sites, and while I love it, we've been seeing a lot of really interesting stuff that they've been deciding to do with D2C. We've gotten Like the fairground line made a return with the haunted house set. It's a shame that Sam isn't here to talk with us about that. But
Yeah.
like we saw the fairground sets return. We're seeing all these like, well, no, I was about to talk about the busts, but those technically don't count as D2C sets. The busts, like the
like the
Darth Vader,
yeah.
Stormtrooper,
Like the heads.
those.
I was actually wanting to talk about those.
Iron Man. Chris was Iron Man.
Wait, so those aren't considered?
No, those are just
D2C?
technically 18 plus sets. Like, because Lego now has this new 18 plus. Like, it's not its own specific line, but its own like new age rating for all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about like D2C, we're talking about like big sets.
Yes,
then.
it's like usually, if Lego's got a set rolling out that's like $100 or more, and it's not like directly related to a line of sets, that's kind of where it applies. It can, because they do it with Star Wars all the time.
Like the recent one?
Here's the thing, though. D2C is strictly defined as from Lego to consumer. Not from Lego to Target, Lego to Walmart, Lego to anywhere else, but Lego to consumer.
Mm-hmm.
They generally
so like
tend
Oh,
all
to be
those hard to
expensive.
find items then?
Not necessarily.
Pretty much.
But,
No, that's actually exactly what they are.
Oh, well,
Because like the smaller ones, they just don't care. You can get them wherever. But they focus their energy on these really big ones. They have to get directly from Lego, so you can kind of have a more tightly controlled distribution of them.
Mm-hmm.
The helmets I did see at Target the other day looked pretty good. Funny enough, one of my favorite local restaurants, they had the Boba Fett helmet just sitting there as a display, like on a shelf. So like a shelf with like different knickknacks and whatever, and they just had this Lego Boba Fett helmet from the new wave. It looks
amazing.
pretty cool.
Well, there you go. Yeah, like.
Yeah. And like I know they did not get that at a Lego store because there's no Lego store in my entire state.
Well, you can easily get it at Shop at Home, because Shop at Home also applies to all this as well.
That's fair.
But yeah, like just was it when was it? Was it yesterday? Yesterday morning, right? At least at the time of us recording this video. Yesterday morning they announced the Elf Clubhouse, which is this year's Winter Village set. I love it. It's a great set. Like the new reindeer mold is super cool. I like the different printing. I like the printing for the elves is slightly different from what we saw in both the Santa's Workshop set and the one that we have from the CMF, one of the CMF series. But yeah, like it's a cool set. Like I'm happy that they're starting to make the Winter Village sets a bit cheaper, because they used to be like
$80.
Yeah, they used to be like around 80 to 100. They started making them a lot more expensive. So it's nice seeing them kind of like what's the word? Tail it back a bit more with this new one.
Well, they're not tailing back the releases, though.
Yeah.
So, according to Brickset, September 9th, Mos Eisley Cantina officially revealed. Of course, Lego can't keep a leak to save their lives, but we'll get to that later. And then, 10 days later, Brickset posts Take to the Skies Above Gotham Wing in a 1989 Batwing, which is another D2C set.
That was just revealed Saturday.
And then, the 21st, literally 2 days after the Batwing is announced, this year's Winter Village set revealed.
God. It's crazy.
So you're telling me...
what's money, guys?
It's a fading concept is what it is.
Apparently.
Yeah. Oh, and then on the 31st of August, Diagon Alley revealed. Now, granted, there are pictures that are released ahead of time, there's leaks, and Lego will post teaser images, but for the most part, Brickset has been very consistent about posting news on the set when it's quote-unquote officially released.
Yeah.
I didn't even get the Batmobile yet. Like, Lego, chill, please.
Oh, if you
Don't
want the best...
discontinue the Batmobile. I still want
the
that.
1989 one.
Yeah, the like
Tim Burton.
the D2C one that last year,
Tim Burton.
like the big one. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I love those the 1989 Batman sets. Like the Batwing one looks great too. I mean, those are my favorite Batman. Like that's my favorite Batman movie. So outside of the Lego movie, or the Lego Batman movie, I should say. But I love those movies. So like I'd love to get those sets. But again, I am a poor, suffering college student, so it is going to be a long time before I ever get those. I will be scouring the aftermarket in an attempt to find them when I am a rich and famous filmmaker, or so he said. And there we go. Marcus has just revealed that he, in fact, was the Joker in the 1989 Batman movie. It was never Jack Nicholson. It was just Marcus.
It was me all along. Deal. I'm joking. That's not how
Oh my gosh.
That's not how.
You're straight up killing me right now.
Is great. But yeah, like it's.
I think you also want to count idea sets as well. There have been 2 idea sets that released. There was the D2C Mickey and Minnie. I'm just browsing through bricks at this point.
It's crazy.
Another train was released. The new Technic Lamborghini.
Mm-hmm.
It's been insanity.
Like a lot of companies these days are releasing too many things, and I'm just gonna speak from my point of view. So like, everybody knows, or people that know me knows that I played a trading card game, and I've been feeling kind of burnt out because they've been releasing like a product every month, and I'm like, I don't want to spend money every month just to keep up. And so I got a little burnt out, and I'm like, okay, time to sell all this. I'm done with this. I'm not paying like money for something that's like gonna go out of date in like another year or so, or in another 3 months, because it's just gonna lose value over time.
It'll just depreciate.
Yeah, but like, of course, that doesn't happen with like Lego and other companies.
Not necessarily,
but
but yes, yeah.
Well, Lego kind of does depreciate though. Or are you talking about the constant releasing?
like the concept of releasing.
Okay. Lego's certainly reaching that point. I would just argue that Lego does depreciate, which does make it a little bit trickier. I mean, aftermarket prices are pretty bad, but
I mean, like, given like in 10 years, it's going to be rare. The sets are going to be rare, of course, after they discontinue.
Yeah, for sure.
That happens with anything.
I feel like with the way that Lego is
limited production line. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah. Oh, it's all good. No, I'm just thinking about my new obsession now, vinyl, and how that also has limited runs.
Yeah, like you know, Chris, they're like releasing things too, right? Like a lot of products at the same time. It's just like I can't keep up with this.
See, that's generally the case with a lot of music and pre-orders. The thing is, though, I find with a lot of bands, they only really release one album every 2 years, maybe 3 years. Maybe they'll throw in an EP around the 1 year anniversary of the album it just released. But for the most part, it's pretty slow. And what I appreciate about it, too, is that it's very deliberate. A band doesn't just throw out an album just because they can, unless you're Bring Me the Horizon. But for the most part, there's a lot of care and effort put into it, and it becomes fairly timeless as the context of the songs are not only cemented on when you first heard the album and what memories you associate with it, but they can still ring true even today. Lego, on the other hand, I don't see that same sort of attachment value to it. I don't know, I'm going to go on a total heresy track here, but a set does not... all the sets that they're releasing here, they don't feel like they really mean anything. And there's not really much you can attach to like a set in terms of like memory or emotion or whatnot. But I think the vast majority of sets now that there are so many being pushed out, it's even harder to attach.
Hashtag cancel GBP.
Kind of a shame.
Hashtag cancel GBP.
Let's go!
Revoke his Brickfilming card.
I've given you about a whole 49 minutes here, at least on my recording, for you guys to cancel my card.
Yes.
Get to it.
We're gonna destroy Chris. But yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like there's so many that it's even hard just out of those D2C sets to be like, yeah, if I'm gonna blow all my money on just one of these products, I gotta pick this one. Like I know personally, I really want to get the Lego NES D2C set that came out.
Yeah, there's still that too. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
That came out in August, the beginning of August, and it's like I still really want to get that. That might be a Christmas gift to myself. We'll see.
Man, we got what do we got? So we got Hyrule Warriors. We got PS5, Xbox One, the 30 series. Oh, we got too many things.
Don't buy a console. Don't play their game.
PC Master Race.
PC Master Race. Yes. But yeah,
I can prove it mathematically, but anyways.
I mean, and the crazy thing about all of this is that we're living in a year where the economy has not necessarily been failing, but it hasn't been in the ripest of shape either.
We're basically in a recession.
I mean, we are in a recession, but it's just like, man, it's so bizarre. Like,
can I get on a high horse for just a hot minute?
For a hot minute. We're watching the time right now. You have a minute. Go.
One thing that I am very frustrated with the LEGO community in general, I feel like a lot of us are very materialistic when it comes to LEGO, and often we just buy the big and exclusive sets just to have them, and rarely do we actually use them. Which is why I try to make sure any set I get is something I'll use for brick film, and even then I end up failing because I just want to get it for the cool factor, and not because I think that it'll actually satisfy some sort of desire, which is an inherently corrupt philosophy. Alright, probably under a minute there.
Yeah, it was about 30 seconds.
I'm going to add onto that minute, actually, because you are absolutely correct. When I have that backlog of all those Lego sets in my room that I need to build, it's just like, I don't feel like building these. Like, I thought I was going to use it for brick filming, but like, no, I only need the modular buildings and that's it. And I'm just like, wow, I just blew my money like that. Feels bad.
Feels bad.
I feel that. I mean, I honestly kind of feel a twinge of guilt whenever I buy a Lego set, thinking I could probably use this for something better. But for the most part, if I use it in a brick film, I feel kind of justified. Because, I mean, it's healthy to have a hobby, and it's healthy to put constraints on that hobby.
Yeah.
But I feel like one thing that's really sort of become expected in the LEGO community is just that there aren't constraints. You're an adult. You can buy whatever you want. Some people buy insurance. Some people pay taxes.
You need that.
I sure don't, but I buy Lego.
I prefer being a tax fugitive, but we'll talk about that another day.
You see, not even the Joker takes on the IRS.
Oh, man. See, and like, it's so weird because like with all these D2C sets, like, yeah, a lot of them are really cool. Like, a lot of them are really interesting. But yeah, it's just like a lot of them I just don't want to go out of my way to spend money on. Like, I would say out of all the stuff that I'm remembering currently and the stuff that's released this year, I kind of had my eyes on getting the NES and then the Haunted House. And it was really just that was about it. 2 sets out of like what, the 30 that they released this year, like maybe even the Diagon Alley. The Diagon Alley, like I could warrant getting that for.
I'm getting that. I'm so getting.
I could warrant getting that for parts.
I need to complete my Harry Potter collection.
Oh my god, that's why do we hang out with you?
See, that's the thing.
You
like,
have
I'm a
Harry Potter
collector
collection?
now.
Why do we hang out with you? God, disgusting.
Oof, Jared has entered the chat.
I'm just speaking for Jared right now. I literally do not care.
I neither do
Dude,
I.
do you know how long the Diagon Alley is?
It's big, yeah, like it's a big one.
It is huge.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny because when I was a kid, like I talk a lot about how my dad has really influenced my animation and how he's helped me a lot. When I was a kid, though, it was kind of the exact opposite.
Oh god.
One thing he did say though that did stick with me is that there's always an exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I was like, "But Dad, you don't understand. Is this exclusive?" But now I'm like, he is right. Like he was ahead of the time there.
Like, you don't always need it.
You don't always need it. There's always an exclusive, and you don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's one thing I kind of low-key hate in the LEGO community. When someone says, I need a set. If you need it for a specific purpose, like a brick film or a mock, okay, you can kind of get away with it. But generally, you need oxygen. You need food. You want Lego.
You need sleep.
I will test the elements in an effort
sleep.
to not have to deal with those 2 materialistic things. I will survive off of Lego and nothing else.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna die.
I remember back in I think last year summer. Do you guys remember when they were like doing that Bricktober thing with like the minifigures? Like the Harry Potter minifigures.
Yes,
Ninjago,
that was a
Jurassic
fiasco.
Park.
But yes, I do remember.
And the Marvel
Oh,
ones. Yeah.
Like, I unfortunately went to Barnes and Nobles and bought $100 just to get the freaking Harry Potter minifigs.
Disgusting.
And then when you realize they dropped in value to like $20, and I'm like, why did I just waste $100 for like this set that I don't really need? Just for these 4 minifigures, you know?
The market can really screw you sometimes. It's interesting, that's for sure. And it's funny, we talk about all this and like about how you don't have to get all of it, but I've been hearing these rumors about them potentially doing a Lego Ninjago movie gardens or Ninjago gardens set.
I have heard that.
And
but you know
that
what?
is justified, okay? It looks nice.
Oh, have there been there's been pictures?
It's your standard.
It's
blurry
going to look nice.
pixel.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you two, but I have both of the Ninjago City docks.
We both just have the Ninjago City. I would love to get the docks, but I'm pretty sure I haven't looked at the aftermarket, but I'm pretty sure the docks gone up in price, sadly.
They have.
Isn't it
very
discontinued?
dramatically.
It's been discontinued, yeah,
Yes,
which is
unfortunately.
why. Yeah.
Oof.
R.I.P.
The thing is, though, I kind of don't mind. What kills me, though, is I got Ninjago City for my birthday a while ago, and I love the set. It looks great. But dude, I'm looking at it, it's just sitting there.
See,
that's
the thing.
And
I
see,
had actually
here's-
been taking mine apart because I've been having to use it for parts. Like, I've actually had to start taking it apart to get at, like, actual, like, structural pieces in the set.
Oh my goodness.
I've been kind of ripping it apart in some spots, but, like, even just for the accessories, because those accessories, we were talking about exclusivity earlier, but, like, those exclusive, like, parts and prints and stuff, those do come in a lot of handy sometimes. So I will, like, kind of nab a couple that I'm like a kid who's trying to take all the little candies off of a gingerbread house and get away with it. You'll take off all those little adorning elements and you'll throw them on something, and then of course you forget to put them back. And then you find it one day and you realize, oh, I took it off of there and I got to put it back. But then you don't remember where it goes because you've taken everything else that goes around there off, and it's just a mess. It's a mess. I'm going crazy.
Yes. Send help.
Help me.
Honestly, there's a sort of wholesome vibe to that,
Mhm.
honestly. The fact that, you're just taking it apart as it was intended.
Yeah, it's Lego.
Lego
It's
doesn't-
intended to be
You can
taken
rebuild
apart
it.
and rebuilt.
Lego doesn't have a function where you put it together, but then you can't take it apart. Unless you use Craggle, in which case you're Satan. But anyways, like, I look at these sets here on my shelf, honestly, and maybe I'm just having, like, a sad boy hours moment or something, but, like, I got Ninjago City, the Sacred Sanctorum, and Avengers Tower sitting up there. And for the most part, they're sitting up there because I haven't used it for a brick film. I got this thought, what if that set, if I hadn't bought it, would be in the hands of some kid who'd be having the time of his life with it?
Don't think about it like that.
Exactly.
Don't think about it like that, because you'll just end up
I
feeling
am
like
thinking
crap.
about it like that.
You're gonna
The
feel like
thoughts-
crap.
the thought entered my head and
Chris, the way
stuck
you
there.
think about that is because the way you should think of it is that you are the kid.
Exactly.
That is one way to think about it. So,
You are having a time of the life.
Oh my god.
I'm
How
looking
do
at
we,
maybe
how do we get so
instead
meta?
of looking at... So maybe, though, instead of looking at the next exclusive and scheming about how I'm going to get that, maybe I should take a look at that shelf over there and figure out what to do with what I got.
Yo, I remember when I bought... Is it called Brickpocalypse?
Apocalypseburg.
Apocalypseburg.
yeah,
Brickpocalypse, what the heck?
Apocalypseburg.
Apocalypseburg? Oh man, I'm just like, oh, this is gonna be great. And then it's literally sitting on my shelf collecting dust for the past year. And I'm like,
Man,
I need to do something with it.
take it apart,
Yeah.
use it in some brick films. Bada bing, bada boom. We've warranted the price.
Am I a horrible person if I thought about, like, selling/giving away some of the sets that I just straight up don't use?
I mean, I'll take them off your hands. I can't really give you money for them, but sure.
I meant like a kid who actually wants them/needs them.
I'll take them off your hands. I don't exactly have money, but
Need.
Who just covered need/want.
Yes. Yes, that's how
yeah.
it goes.
Moral
Right.
of the story. It's not a necessity, guys. Don't get it.
Be what's the word? Be smart with your money.
Grateful.
Be responsible. Very
Be responsible with
Be
your
responsible and be grateful. I think I'd boil it down to that.
Mm-hmm. And this is also in
mean-
reference to what we were talking about with the AI stuff. Be responsible. Be responsible, or I'll
Hey, let's
kill you.
wrap around, yeah.
or Marcus 2.0 will kill everyone.
Yes.
Well, here, how about
This is
I
the way.
really abstract it all for a second? It's all a tool. Like, tools can be used, tools break down, tools can be acquired. Just don't use them stupid.
Chris, you're a tool.
You know what one of my favorite bands is? Tool. I'm kidding, I've only started just listening to them. I'm working my way up there, guys.
Oh my god.
Speaking of horrible segues, you want to do a thought-provoking question of the week?
Yes, it is time. We've hit that hour. We've hit that mark of the day, and it's time. I'm loving. Oh,
I don't
never
know
mind.
what
I
that
can't
was.
say that. That's legally against copyright.
And now I've been demonetized. All that
Yay,
$0 we made,
again.
gone.
I wasn't going for that tune, but I guess somehow it did.
I hate you. All right, Marcus.
Of course.
Lay it on us. It is your
Oh.
week this week, sir.
I thought it was Chris's.
Chris, lay it on us. It's your week this week, sir. I am so stupid. Oh my god.
Hey, it may be my week for the question, but it's your week for terrible segues.
Hey.
Oh
I'm just gonna go cry in the corner.
Oh my goodness. Alright. So, not gonna lie, I put together like a big list of thought-provoking questions on a road trip a few weeks ago.
Oh god, that sounds not great. That sounds
That
scary.
sounds
There is
so much
nothing
like
else to do on the Montana freeway. There's mountains here and mountains there, and my front speakers are dead. Nothing I can do.
Aww.
I've had a lot of great conversations with myself. But the point being, so here's the thought-provoking question. This one's a scenario question. And it's kind of a shame Sam and Jared weren't here because they could probably have a lot of fun with it too.
Oh man.
But here we go. Alright, so you're sitting at your desk and you hear knocking at the door. You go down the door and you open it and it's you. But actually, it's a clone of you. Now, this you is from an alternate universe who has had basically the same experiences as you. He looks like you. Heck, he's probably even wearing the same clothes as you. And he gets to visit your universe for 24 hours, and you can do whatever you want. What do you do?
Wait.
Okay.
The clone, right? It's a version of me. Obviously, it's a clone.
Yep.
Like, what did you say about like his memories and his experience?
Yep. So same memories, same experiences, looks just like you. The only thing that is different is that he somehow came over to your universe to hang out with you for 24 hours.
Okay, so by that logic, I wouldn't do anything with him because what's the point?
If he's the same person,
if it's the same
like,
person,
right?
then what's the point?
Oh, there's a lot of things. That deep introspection you do in the shower, you can do it out loud. Or you just want to mess with people in public, you can do that too.
Oh god, no, you're
For
right about
me?
people. I guess you're right
Okay.
about that, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, this is what I would do. This is what I would do. First off, I would make an animation.
Oh yeah, because you could
Marcus-
do it. You could do double time on that, basically.
Yeah. I would make an animation. I would probably play that game, that trading card game with me, because I still haven't sold all my cards yet. Even though I'm planning to.
But neither of you would win, technically. Unless, well, I guess it could come down to the cards that you...
No, because I have, like, multiple decks.
I was going to say, I guess it could come down to, like, the cards you get, because you're both going to be at the same skill level, but if you have, like, a different hand of cards, then one might naturally have a better advantage. Yeah, okay, never mind.
Oh, I would do a lot of things. But yeah, messing with my friends would be a good one. No, I guess just having a deep philosophical conversation with myself is probably the best, even though I do that like every night. Overthinking, you know. But it's like good to talk out loud, you know, and vent to yourself. Physically. There we go. That's how you pronounce that word.
I guess,
I think that's a good idea.
If I were to do anything with myself, which sounds kind of weird, just out of context.
You dance with yourself like the song.
Dude. Oh my god, you're right though. Holy crap.
I would have a gym buddy.
That's like one of my favorite songs too. We talked about this before.
Wait, what?
And it would also be your clone's favorite song too, by extension.
What the
Why is Trev so mind blown? I literally missed what he just said.
That hurts. Because I'm the one who came into this being like, this would be so stupid if it's just with yourself. What's the fun of doing anything with yourself? No, that's crazy. That's what I would do. I would dance with myself. To dance with myself.
There you go. And you know what? Your clone has probably had this exact same conversation with clone me. Who knows?
I'm not gonna lie. If I did meet a clone of myself, I would probably feel... What's the word? Like...
Self-conscious?
More self-love?
More...
That too?
Well, we know what Chris is doing with his clone, the clone of himself.
No, as in like you know how like, what do you call it? That saying is like, if you want to love someone, you gotta love yourself first. That's what I'm going for. Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Basically, I would just mess with everybody. So,
yo, Chris would finally have a reason to make the Chris 2.0 video.
Oh, yo.
Yes!
Yo,
oh my
Chris.
goodness!
Future Chris is a thing. But real this
Dude,
time.
we make all the videos. Like, I would probably just go that straight 24 hours without sleeping just to maximize the videos.
Honestly, yeah, exactly.
Myself, yeah. Like, we could have, me versus Rick Masculine. Finally. Future Chris versus Rick Masculine, finally.
And it wouldn't have to
Me
be
versus me,
composited and
finally.
look super fake.
You know what I would do? I would fight myself.
Fight myself.
There you go.
But see, do you both get inflicted?
See who's stronger.
Do you both get inflicted with the same pain? That's the real question. There's got to be a.
Okay, Trev, we are not going down this path again. That was super awkward last time you did
Oh
this.
no, I wasn't going for that. I was going for like a super trippy like circle of
right,
of
Chris.
light. Oh god, I hate you. I hate you.
I would try to find all of the metal songs that talk about, me against myself or whatnot. Wait, that's a song! Me Against Myself by Wage War.
Yeah, punch myself.
We karaoke that just to screw with people. But the crown jewel would be a live stream, a Brickfilm live stream. And suddenly you just see two Chris's Brickfilming. And everybody's all, what? The literal heckfire.
Heckfire.
That would be my crowning achievement. And then you could go home and we're all good. Well, you guys are taking this well.
I'm in pain. The question didn't necessarily break me, but it came close.
Trev is very mind blown. Like, he's actually standing up and like walking around.
I just got up because this chair hurts my butt, but yeah.
Dude, you think this is bad? Wait till my next road trip. I'll find one worse.
Oh no, Chris, you've been banned from taking road trips ever again.
We are gonna have a good TPQ if Chris goes on a road trip plus metal. I'm pretty sure he already did that, but a lot more metal.
I tried, but the front speakers are shot. I'm thinking about replacing them, but I'm looking to buy a new car within the next few months or so. So I'm just gonna not. Yeah. I mean, seriously though, like low frequency songs sound just fine. The Doom soundtrack, it's great. Anything with a higher frequency range, especially Red, it just doesn't sound very good. So I'm left to my own devices and my own thoughts. I'll probably solve some world problems, and I just don't know it.
When we see a clone ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can they go back to their world and bring the PC build that I have right now?
Well, they would have it in their.
No,
they would
why
have it
not?
in their world
Just for
already,
fun.
So what's the point?
Okay, if that does happen, I'm gonna play PC games with myself. Oh my god, I'm gonna play Call of Duty Warzone, duos, and we're gonna win every single match of that.
You gotta
night.
go to a coffee shop and do that, like those like gaming coffee shops. Yeah.
Oh, you would freak so many people out.
Yeah, that'd be.
That's another thing I do, and then we'd try to practice like synchronized everything, so like synchronized drinking our coffee, synchronized typing on a computer, whatnot, just for the sole sake of freaking people out.
That's right.
Dang, I kind of want to do this.
And it was on that day that Chris was sent on his quest to clone himself. It's funny we're talking about all these hypotheticals in the time where Clone High is currently a massive meme.
I don't understand why.
You haven't seen it yet, have you? This is basically just my call to everybody who's listening to go watch the show because it's a great show.
I mean,
answer me, Chris.
Brand here with. I am a filmmaker who doesn't watch films.
Oh my god.
I'm trying to stay on brand here.
Well, it's not a film, it's a show. Fool.
What if we abstract...
Same thing.
What if we abstract film to mean you don't watch film reels, you only watch digital film?
Oh my god.
Or digital movies. I'm just saying. We talked a lot about digital signal processing today.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, you still didn't answer my question.
What do we call it? Like a back segue? Or
Still didn't answer my question. Have you seen Clone High?
I have not, no.
This is the time.
I want to watch it, though.
This is the time. It's everybody that's
Dude,
listening.
I got a long list of stuff to catch up on.
I gotta watch it. It's free on YouTube. I think it's on Hulu as well. Great show. It's making a comeback for some weird reason. And they also said that the show is actually legitimately they're coming back and making more episodes in the near future, which is great. I'm ending the show with an advertisement. Sorry.
We're not sponsored, Trev. We're gonna get sued.
Well, I'll talk to Lord and Miller. I'll get their approval. It'll be okay.
If you can seriously do that, I will never make an A Deal to Die For joke ever again.
Oh!
Consider it.
I've said it.
Consider it done.
Mark this timestamp on the YouTube/Spotify/Apple Podcast upload. Mark it.
Mm. You mean Marcus?
And on that
You
note,
mean Marcus? No, Mark. Never mind. Please wrap this up.
and moving on from the king of horrible segues, thanks for listening to this episode of the Frame100 podcast. If you have any thoughts on any of the topics we discussed today, please leave a comment or tag us on Twitter with hashtag Frame100podcast. We'd also like to thank Lots of Toast for the awesome theme music. Please go check out his channel and support his work. If you want to hear more from us, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Until then, stay tuned for our next episode, and keep brick filming.